Today is November 13th. Moves are being made. Have the Pirates solved their first base problem? Is this the biggest splash of the offseason on day one? Let's talk about it here on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I am joined, as always, by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake?
How we doing, man?
Doing all right. It is cold here.
Yeah, it's really not a whole lot warmer here. I mean, it's warmer for sure, but we're in the low 50s today.
Oh, jeez. Well, it's been snowing here, so a little different.
Right. Sun's out today, so it feels closer to 60. Pretty nice out.
Sun's out today, so it's a little bit closer to 40. A little different again. So, well, we're here. We're in the midst of the off season.
Yeah.
And we actually are opened up free agencies here. There's all kinds of... Wait, Braves to sign Nick Anderson. People are being signed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going.
Relievers falling off the board left and right.
Yeah.
Which is, one of the things that we've talked about. That the Pirates need to move on. And now that, the top tier is starting to drop off, I don't know what that means for the mid-tier guys that the Pirates would typically be looking at.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily.
Suarez out in San Diego got a nice paycheck.
Yep. He got re-signed. Astros re-signed Montero. And then Nick Anderson going to Atlanta. And I think there's even been, obviously Edwin Diaz, that wasn't even a question. Right. I think we all knew he was staying there anyway. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a thing. Pirates trading. We're talking all about, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. We talked all about all these free agent first basemen out there. First base was number one, the first thing we had to fix. Then catcher, right? That was my opinion.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
That was our opinion.
That was our opinion. We'll talk about that. Well, they didn't waste any time with first base. And we're going to get into this. They traded for G-Man Choi. Yeah, a lot of 40-man moves had to be made in this process. Ryan Vilade, I think that happened after we recorded the last one. So claiming Ryan Vilade from Colorado, right-handed hitter, 23, one of those guys. I think he's a former first-round draft pick. I'm pretty sure. Just like so typical. And I think that was the first thing that kind of triggered a lot of Pirate fans. Yeah. Is here we go again. To be fair, this is the time of the year where waiver claims are going to happen. So I don't really want to think too much into that. It's literally, it's happening everywhere.
Right.
This is the time of the year that you claim guys on waivers. So I don't know. But let's go ahead and get into the 40-man moves. Unless you have anything else that before we kick off here. Did you have something else to set some things up here? I didn't know if you had anything.
Not really. Okay. I'm just glad to be back in my area here to record today.
That's right. Yep, that's right. All right. So we got our 40-man roster moves that were made. We got the injured list guys: Kranick, De Los Santos, Smith and Jigba, Cedarland, and Holderman. Yep, that's the five guys. Oh, the sixth was Roberto Perez, which goes to free agency. We get that. Ben Gamel's gone, free agency, kind of a thing. And then outrighted to Indy, Blake Cedarland of that group is outrighted. Eric Stout, Jason DeLay, Zach Collins, Peter Solomon, and Bo Sulser. So now we're trimming this down to get down to, let me see, that we were at 44, I think we said. So that gets us down to about 37, I think. I don't know. I don't know. Either way, Stout and Collins become free agents. The rest go to Indy. So Zach Collins, gone. Now, we said he wasn't going to be one of the first because he would go whenever a first baseman is acquired, which obviously we just said literally the same day. Or, earlier in the day before this stuff was out, G-Man Choi was brought in. So, and we'll get into that. So basically, Kranick, De Los Santos, CSN, and Holderman stay on the 40-man. Jason DeLay is a guy that we were unsure about right off the bat. He'll be in Indy. So once again, depth, same way he was last year. And then Peter Solomon that they just claimed. Bo Solser that they claimed to get back. He's also was cleared this time. So we'll be able to have him as depth. So really that's good because you have Ann Cedarland, which, has something to prove here after coming out of the injuries. So we've got some relief pitchers in the depth positions that if there are any major injuries or anything like that, there are some options. Eric Stout becoming a free agent is not on that list, but I don't think anything's really surprised me there.
No.
I think there were some guys that I was like, okay, well, I mean, this makes sense. These are all guys that we talked about, had a chance to actually all of them. Yeah. Had a chance that we said, these are all guys. I mean, we had more on our list and we'll still get to those guys, as things happen. Hopefully things happen, but, so from that point, trying to navigate things here because we're going to wait on the G-Man Choi things. So, we've got a little bit there. But we mentioned at the beginning there that what are we looking at now? So first base, done. Move on to catcher, right? That's what I would think.
That's what you would think, yeah.
And then we get Rob Biertempfel was told by Ben Sherrington, in terms of resources, this is a quote from Sherrington, whether that's financial or giving up talent, it's probably not at the top of our priority list. What? You already got your first baseman, and now catcher's not at the top of your priority list. Well, as far as financial resources or giving up talent. So you're not going to trade a lot of talent to get it. That to me makes perfect sense.
Right.
Financial resources? What do you mean? Like, was the question, are you going after Wilson Contreras? Because outside of him, like, what are you paying for?
Right.
So that means Sean Murphy, who a lot of people are talking about right now over in Oakland, is not an option to trade for. And I'm okay with that. That makes sense to me. And that means that Wilson Contreras isn't being brought in on a 5-year deal. But like, I've seen some of the mock, like Christian Vasquez isn't, I think I saw like 3 years. I don't know. I don't remember what the number was. It wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, you could do that. You could up it a little bit and only go 2 years with him. That way you're set.
Yeah.
I think that his price will go up though. Vasquez. I think it will. I think it'll go up from there when teams start saying this is our only option. Let's go get it. I don't know though. Maybe they'll overpay for a shorter term.
To finish that kind of, not so much as a quote, but they're keeping the room, they're keeping the spot there for Henry Davis.
It really does feel that way.
Yeah.
And Endy.
And I'm just wondering if they're not planning on fast tracking him a little bit. Not
Davis,
like ridiculous, but I think they plan on Davis being in the major leagues next year.
I don't know if that's
at some point,
or at least
because if you're not going to go and address this catching situation, I just don't. I don't. And he was, and he said that he's planning on making the big league roster better this year, taking a step forward.
He has said things like that, which is interesting because I feel like that's something that we haven't heard a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we've said is of all the moves that he's made, and, a lot of them good, but only good on one thing. Our criticism has been, yeah, that's cool. You're acquiring a bunch of talent. You're doing all these things and you're building up a system, and your development plan is supposed to be, if anybody wants to say that it's not working, we don't know that yet. A development plan doesn't happen in 2 years.
Right.
Right. So this is year 3. This was year 3, right?
Yeah.
20, 21, 22. This was year 3. Your development plan, you didn't really acquire anybody a lot in 2020 with the COVID year and everything like that.
You weren't able to do a lot. There wasn't even a minor league season.
Right.
Really.
So the development, it was non-existent in 2020, right? That's just not a thing. There was a few things that could happen, but outside of that, I mean, like so you're basically working on 2 years, and development it takes longer than that.
Yeah, it's over time.
It's over time, and the other thing about development is not just can you get your first round draft picks to the majors. It's who's all the guys that aren't first round draft picks that you made something of, like who's the guy that you weren't paying attention to that starts to blossom. Who's those sort of things. But like, you got to look at a team like Cleveland. They've been running on this same regime, same front office, maybe some different positional names, but basically the same guys in place, same development plan in place for 10 years.
Right.
Once they did their rebuild, they haven't had to rebuild again. And that's the kind of thing that, you're hoping to be able to get sustained development. Look at the pitching that's come up through that. It's just been like, oh, we can trade Kluber. And you're like, you're crazy. And it's like, psych. Take Kluber. I'll show you Shane Bieber. Oh, okay. Take Clevenger. I'll show you. Dude, the Clevenger deal still blows my mind. 4 of those guys on the roster this year that were acquired from him. But like, take the Clevenger deal. Who cares? We've got
Tristan
McKenzie. Take Cookie Carrasco. We've got Savali. Like, dude, it's just they just keep coming.
Yeah.
So either way, that kind of a thing takes time, and when it takes time and when it shows that, hopefully they can sustain that. And the thing about development is it's not just on you. Like, it also takes the players, and it also takes, all of your coaches carrying out that plan, and a lot has to go right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That kind of stuff comes. But
for sure,
to expect that stuff to just show up right now is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little unfair.
But we'll see. We'll see if it shows up in, like, next year, the year before. But to kind of say that Henry Davis is going to be fast tracked, I suppose maybe, but I
guess I don't even want to say fast tracked. He is fast tracking himself. Like, he's
certainly talking the talk too.
You know what I mean?
Well, he's been hurt.
Yeah.
And so with injuries comes, some of your numbers being down, and some of his numbers are good. I mean, you look at his, Greensboro numbers were outrageous, but like his Altoona numbers were bleh, you know what I mean? And he spent a lot of time hurt, but he spent more games there than he did in Greensboro. And I mean, the numbers in Greensboro were better. Even the counting numbers were better. More home runs than he had in Altoona, and more hits in Greensboro than Altoona. I think he had more doubles. If I have it here. Yeah, he had 5 home runs in Greensboro and 4, in 36 more at bats. So he hit more doubles, 8 doubles to 3 doubles, but more hits. So, I mean, like, he goes from 342 in single A to 207 in double A. And like, that's the kind of thing that you want to see get up. and be better at it. But he seems like he has the ability to do it. So I think that's the plan. And the thing
Right.
is like, because, I mean, the arm's great, right? The arm's great. We know that. But it seems like he's going to be fast tracked based on the bat, not based on his catching ability. I think the catching ability continues to develop even after he's in the majors. But I think
100%.
first and foremost, you're looking for a hitter. And it's the same thing with Endy Rodriguez, who also has a little like positional flexibility. Yeah. But it is interesting. And I think I would be a little bit concerned if it's based solely on that. Now, the fact that you have two makes you feel pretty good about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think I'd be a little concerned if they're like, well, we're not going to sign somebody because we got Henry Davis coming. It's like, sign a guy on a 1-year deal, man.
Yeah,
Get somebody.
I'm with that.
Get one of these older guys like Mike Zunino on a 1-year deal or something.
Yeah, and maybe that's what they're going to do yet. You know, they're just not going to fork out a bunch of finance. So they're not going to fork out a 2-3 year deal on somebody. Maybe they're just going to, wait till it thins out a little bit and they're going to take somebody on a 1-year deal to try to prove themselves again.
And maybe that's still Roberto Perez.
Maybe it's still Roberto Perez.
I mean, there's been nothing on him. And the Pirates have already said we're just making sure that he's there physically.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not. I don't know. But there were some other things that Sherrington was kind of caught up in as far as his words, right? We like to dissect everything, and he speaks in GM, and that's not a language that we all speak. And so we're annoyed.
Dry GM too.
Yeah, he does. And I've heard other people say this too. He speaks in GM, but also almost feels like the assumption that he knows more than everybody else in the room, right? So it's a little off-putting for some people. The truth is, he does know more than everyone that he's talking to. And I'm not saying he's a smarter person, but like GMs, they're not going to show their cards. And we would be concerned if he was showing his cards. He shouldn't be showing his cards. So like, we're not going to get the full truth. We know that, and we should be expecting that. It's as if as Pirate fans, we're like, oh, well, Cardinals fans don't have access to Pirates Twitter, so he can say whatever he wants to us. They're never going to find out. No, they're going to find out. He can't show his cards.
Right.
So I don't know. It's still frustrating. It's not any less frustrating. We want to know.
It's hard to get a read on what he's saying because of the way he,
and
there's no emotion behind his words. None.
No, and I think it's kind of like a poker face, right?
Yeah.
You can't tell if he's lying or telling the truth, if he's lousy or if he's just saying this to try to get another rival GM to say, boy, we better pony up or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, or if it's an agent that he's trying to negotiate with and he's like, oh, take it or leave it. And then that agent might say, well, they're not really motivated. If we want to get signed, we better take what they're offering. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there's any of that going on. Maybe he's just boring. I have no idea. So, like, the fact is, he's speaking GM, and we don't translate very well, especially when we're talking about our favorite team, because we want it to be one thing, and we expect that it's something opposite because of the history that we've had with other GMs. So we're just, he didn't have a chance coming here. He didn't have a chance with most fans. As soon as he was signed, they were like, what a mistake. So, but he was on MLB Network.
Yeah, he was on Hot Stove the other day, and I was watching it, and he had a lot to say. Like, he got asked some off questions. Like, they weren't presented real well to him, some of them. But, he had a lot to say and a lot of good things. But, one of the things that he talked about that was brought up was O'Neal Cruz. They asked him about O'Neal Cruz and some of the things they've been seeing from him. Like, this is a tall dude. He does some awkward things. He does some weird things. He says some elite things. And one of the things he mentioned about that is like, O'Neal Cruz does unique things. And we're not going to ask him to stop doing unique things because that's what makes him a special player. But it's refining some of the things that aren't unique is where they're going to be working with him at. And I think that's really cool. I think that's good. I think that's really good to hear. Pitch selection, I know we've talked about his pitch selection before. Dude can take a ball from his ankles and hit it into the river. But you don't need to swing at him all the time.
Yeah.
Just refining some of that. But then towards the end of it, they asked about Reynolds. I mean, we've all heard the trade rumors. Red Sox are interested. Everyone's interested.
Why not?
Everyone is interested in Bryan Reynolds. Everyone wants him in their outfield, whether it be center field or left field. Just didn't give me quite the answer I wanted to hear.
Yeah, because we've seen a lot that's been, they plan on keeping him around. They'd like to extend him. He'd like to be extended.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically been, he's not being moved.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they presented this question to him was, everybody wants this guy. What would you say to Pirates fans who are wondering what's going on?
Yeah, and it just didn't seem like he didn't come out and say, we're not trading Bryan Reynolds, which is what we all wanted to hear. Yeah. We're not trading Bryan Reynolds. We're working on an extension. We're going to get him signed to an extension. This is our guy. This is who we're going to ride. He's our horse. He didn't say any of that.
Nope.
Now, he did say that he has a ton of respect for Bryan Reynolds and Bryan Reynolds' play.
Which almost... That was one of the things that kind of was flagged for me, being like, why do you even have to say that? Like, right. Of course.
Yeah. And, he went on to mention, like, he's been a great teammate. He's been a great Pirate.
Mm-hmm.
I've felt privileged just to have been able to get to know Bryan Reynolds. Like, are we already throwing up the flag here and saying we're going to deal this guy? Like, I need more reaffirmation, if that's a word.
That's not a word.
It's not a word, but I'm going to use it. And, I just want to be let known, hey, as a Pirates fan, we're good, man. Relax. Unless there's something that completely blows us away, he's not going anywhere. Because I understand how this works. I mean, you have to listen. Every phone call that comes in, you have to listen as a GM, because if something comes along and it's going to make your team better, I get it. But at the same time, we're all just sitting back and wondering, when's this guy gone? When's it his turn?
Yeah, it definitely has that feel to it right now because of that. And I wonder if that was how would you approach them about trade rumors? How would you respond to them?
Mm-hmm.
Not how would you respond? Like, where are you at on Bryan Reynolds?
Right.
And that's the thing I question is, did he just answer that question thinking that they were only specifying the trade rumors?
Yeah.
So where do you, so because of that, and because he speaks GM, and because we don't really know where he was coming from, and maybe he regretted the way that he said it even, I don't know. But this wasn't one of the Ben Sherrington press conferences where he got to choose what was being, or at least he got to plan. I don't know. I mean, certainly he knew that they would have been asking about that.
Right.
This was prior to the G-Man Choi trade.
Mm-hmm.
This conversation was. He was probably, I mean, I'm sure he was laser focused on that because it may have even been done by then.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing the way things work. Or
it was definitely in the works.
Oh yeah, there's no way it couldn't have been.
Right.
So I don't know if he was caught off guard, but this still doesn't surprise me that there's been, this is what he does. He comes out, he says something, and then it's like, oh, whoa, hold on. I feel like that happens all the time for him. With that said, are you any different now? Do you still feel like I mean, because in that same conversation, he continued to say, we're all about now making the Major League Club better, which is our biggest thing. Like I said, our biggest criticism has been, sure, you're doing all these things, but you've ignored the Major League roster, we felt like, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've completely passed that up as if it was going to take you 2 years to rebuild, then just sign a guy for 2 years who can be a placeholder like a Ben Gamble type guy that was, but maybe better or more of them, right? Instead of ignoring positions like first base and catcher, which I guess it would be unfair to say they ignored catcher. I mean, they did sign Roberto Perez, and, just like we all were questioning, is he going to get hurt? And then he did, so had he not gotten hurt, it, wouldn't have been quite as bad.
Right.
And especially when like you had Stallings there the year before that. So, you were kind of okay there, but either way, do you feel like we're still in the same place, or do you feel like now that percentage of Bryan Reynolds getting traded went from 25% to 50%?
I don't think it's that dramatic. I don't think it's not dramatic, drastic. I don't think it's that drastic of a change for me, but I definitely think they're behind the scenes and they're working on an extension. And if they can't get an extension done, I think they're listening more intently.
And do you think that happens do you think all of that happens this offseason, or do you think that's more of like a, hey, down the line, down the trade deadline, if we can't work anything out?
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, I think they're going to be working on the trade. They're not trade. They're going to be working on the extension until they can get something done. And if they don't start making headway on it, I think they could be looking at, because I mean, you're going to get the most out of him the earlier you trade him. I don't think they're going to wait too long to where, he's only got a year of control left, and what they get out of his return goes down. His what I'm trying to say right here.
And that could be next offseason.
It could be.
Because instead of going to arbitration with him, you deal him next year, depending on how this year goes. If it goes horrible and we're back to 100 losses, maybe I agree with it.
Yeah.
Because really, he still has 25 and 26. 24 and 25 under control. So he's here until 25, unless we trade him. If nothing's done, we go to arbitration with him. He's not a free agent till 26. So even after this year, it's 2 full seasons. I don't think that your trade value increases any from 2 to 3 years. I think the big difference is 1 to 2 years. If I got 2 years of this guy, then that's way better than only having 1 year or 3 months, right? I think even a full season, going from like the trade deadline to before the season starts, is a huge deal.
I think every year you add on your value goes up.
It goes up, but I don't think it's as drastic as a difference from year 2 to year. I mean, maybe it is, but it depends on what team you're looking at, really. Teams that are win now, like, they don't care about 3 years from now. They care about this year and next year.
Right.
That's their focus. They'll worry about 3 years from now, 3 years from now. If they're still pushing, they'll keep pushing.
Yeah.
But I think their main concern would be 23, 24. These are the years, because you never plan on winning and saying this is our last year of winning. You're always thinking of the year after that too.
Right. But a lot of teams will say, hey, we're going to trade for this guy with the intent of locking him up.
Yeah, but with Bryan Reynolds, that's not even a guy that you don't even think about that. He's already basically still locked up.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. He's already locked up. You don't know what the finances are, but he's there.
Right.
So there's absolutely nothing that says he's not already in a deal, so to speak, because he's still pre-arb. So I don't think that anybody goes into it saying like, well, let's make sure we have him for the next 10 years. As a matter of fact, I think there might even be questions. You know, is this every other year he's going to struggle?
Yeah.
I know that like last year, if you look at the big picture of it, he had 27 home runs and hit 260 plus. I think that any team's like, yeah, that's way better than what we had.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that that's a deal. You know what I mean? It's not like, well, this was a bad year. No, but he struggled for a portion of this year. And teams want to see that he can be a little more consistent. But I think they'd take it. It's not every year you're going to hit 300 if you hit me 260 with 27 homers the year that you don't hit 300. I think I can live with that. I think they like that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's the thought process. Maybe he gets dealt if they're able to get like a huge return for him. I don't know, man. I just don't like it. I just think that with the fact that you have him in 24 and 25, and if you can work something out, if he's way outpricing them and they're like, dude, there's never going to be a way we're going to play ball with that, then I could see them moving him. But they don't have to do it this year.
No, they absolutely do not have to do it this year.
I think if they're saying they can't extend him, if they're not going to have him in 2026 no matter what, like if his asking price is way too high, then yes, I think next year they have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
This year, certainly not. You already know his contract. It's not high. There's no reason to trade him before this season. Yeah. There just isn't. I don't know what you can give me. We don't, because we're sitting here right now saying sign an outfielder. He's the only one, the real one that you have. We think we have something in Suwinski. We think with the other mix of groups, we can maybe fill that last spot, but we'd rather fill that with somebody in free agency.
Yeah. No.
Or Andujar. They think that, they think Andujar is in the play there too. So I think with that group, there's another guy. But like once you get rid of Reynolds, it's like, well, now it's all question marks.
Yeah. They're some people think Suwinski could play center field for us. I just don't know if I'm ready to say Jack Suwinski's our center fielder.
No.
And I like Suwinski.
I like him too, but we don't know that he's going to. I mean, the home runs are great. There's some things he's got to figure out.
Absolutely.
Before he's, just the fourth outfielder.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he gets the opportunity because he's shown the tools and shown the power and whatever, but he's still got to win something here. Like a job, him individually.
Right. Yeah.
So, all right. You want to jump straight into G-Man Choi, or you want to break first?
I'm good either way.
Let's just go, man. I don't care. Let's roll. Listen, guys, check out our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and whatever the things that I say in the middle of that thing. If you guys are on YouTube, though, for real, we like the comments. YouTube is the easiest place to just drop a comment in on the episode while you're watching, while you're listening to us. You think we're crazy. We like the conversation. We like opinions that are different than ours. Comment, like it, subscribe to it. It's so you know that when they're coming out and all those good things. We don't even going to do a break. That was our break. Pirates traded for G-Man Choi for right-handed pitcher Jack Hartman. We're not going to talk about Jack Hartman other than just that. One thing I'll say is we'll start it off with this. They say never trade with Tampa. So don't be surprised when Jack Hartman becomes a household name. Next, best pitcher who never gets exposed the third time through a lineup. That's it. Otherwise, listen, I think as soon as a player gets traded from Tampa, he stinks. Well, the Brewers will tell you otherwise. So I don't think that that's necessarily always the case. He's 1 year from free agency. And after the trade, we find out he's going to have surgery on his right elbow. So I think for Tampa, it was like, sure, we'll take whoever you got. Who do you got? Well, I could send you a dozen baseballs or Jack Hartman. as the joke goes, right?
Yeah.
And so they get Jack Hartman, we get G-Man Choi, and you got a first baseman. Is this what you had in mind?
Ooh, not at all.
Not at all. Now, I'm not saying that you assumed it was going to be G-Man Choi. I will say, however, though, when this happened, it wasn't out of the blue for me. I have heard other people say, how about G-Man Choi? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen that, knowing that Tampa was probably going into this offseason saying, we're going to trade him.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a complete surprise to me.
It caught me off guard.
Sure. Jake's not on Twitter, by the way, guys.
I am. I just don't check it very often.
You're not on Twitter. You have a Twitter account.
Yeah, I have a Twitter account.
So is this what you had in mind? Without the name.
Right.
You get a first baseman who is a first baseman with a little more, like, he's got 5 years. This isn't like Yoshi, who just showed up here and kind of had a little bit of time and struggled and can't, like, this was their starter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he's got 5 years of experience and he's younger than Yoshi. And then it's also not Michael Chavis, who's really a second baseman. And you know what I mean?
5'10".
And 5 foot. Well, yeah, he's taller than that. But it's also not, Josh Bell, who offensively has much more in the tank, but defensively wasn't much different than those guys we just talked about. Like, he was a right fielder, moved to first base because of opportunity, and never really figured it out defensively.
Who?
Josh Bell.
Josh Bell? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
G-Man Choi is actually a pretty good first baseman.
So there you go. So now you have an actual first baseman. So I'm just kind of going back and looking at what we've had standing at first base. Does this check a box? Are we done here?
It's a good question, and I don't know. I don't know if I'd be done.
Well, I mean, this is a 1 year. This is a 1 year fix. First off, right? So we understand that. So this is not a long-term thing yet. Watch them come out tomorrow with, like, we've also extended Choi for 5 years. It's not going to happen. I mean, nothing is never not going to happen.
Right. But I just don't. I don't know. And I think it lines up with a lot of moves we've made. And I think it lines up with some personnel that we have on the team.
One of the things is I kind of thought whatever happens, whether it's outfield or first base or whatever, like, we just need more right-handed hitters. And he's not.
This doesn't address that.
Yeah, he's a left-handed hitter, so we stay very left-handed heavy. It's going to be hard to. I mean, first base. Interestingly enough, he throws right-handed. So what I'm going to say is crappy and probably stupid, but, like, typically first base, you're going to find lefties. So I don't say that to say, like, yeah, it makes sense. No. But a lot of other first basemen that you may have gone after may have been left-handed.
Yeah.
Or at least that would be available, whether or not they would go after them or not. So it's not rare to find a left-handed hitter who plays first base. It's just odd enough that he throws right-handed, but
yeah. I wouldn't have hated to see, like, an Aguilar.
Yeah.
Right-handed power guy.
So Aguilar, I think I've seen that too. I think he's much more of a wild card than even the rumors of like Trey Mancini. You know what I
Right.
mean? Where it's like, okay, well, maybe Trey Mancini's one of the guys. And, you look at those guys, excuse me, you stack the numbers up. And I looked up the numbers just from 2020 to 2022, just to give us the last 3 years. And obviously we know that the 1 year is a much shorter year, but Trey Mancini didn't even play in 2020. So put that aside. It's just the 2 years. Obvious. And G-Man Choi has the least plate appearances of this group with Aguilar, Mancini, and Josh Bell. I know we were not in play for Josh Bell. I don't want this to be understood as we're in play for Josh Bell.
Right.
This is simply for comparison's sake. Josh Bell having the most at bats of this group. G-Man Choi's got the lowest amount of doubles of that group. Closest would be Aguilar, 52. Now, like I said, lowest amount of plate appearances too. So that's fine. He has the lowest amount of home runs from that group. Not the lowest amount of walks though. Aguilar and Mancini less walks. He also has the lowest amount of strikeouts. This is kind of dumb till you start to get to averages. And in the last 3 years, he has a .231 batting average, which is the lowest amongst the three. On base percentage, other than Josh Bell, it's the highest. Slugging, lowest. So it's kind of, when you look at the OPS and you look at Mancini and Aguilar versus Choi, Choi has a 741 OPS, Mancini 735, Aguilar 739. When you start to even things out like that, he's slightly better than those two guys. OPS plus a 113. The other two are at 104 and 102. So, and those are a little bit easier to look at because you're looking at an average. Sure, he's lower in all those things. Of course he is.
Yeah.
Because he has less plate appearances and less games, and by a significant amount. Like the lowest, Trey Mancini's played in 290 games and G-Man Choi in 238. And you look at the WAR numbers, and he's higher than Mancini and Aguilar in WAR. 2.4 versus 2.1 and 1.0. And I'm done with Josh Bell at this point. We already understand that he's got a 5.6 in that time. And, things like that. So there's just a lot of that kind of favors him over the other two, but not by much. So when you say, and this is why I brought that up, because we say like, oh, I would have rather seen Mancini or Aguilar. It's pretty close. If you had in mind Mancini and Aguilar with the right-handed bat aside, if that's where you thought you were going to be, then I think that they pretty much landed where you expected. Like I said, not the same name.
Right. Which is whatever.
But it's kind of where you landed. And we just looked before this. And the reason I handpicked those numbers is because when you look at the available free agents in first base market, that's it. Josh Bell and Jose Abreu, with Jose Abreu being 36 years old, but also quite a bit better than the rest of those guys.
Yeah.
And rumor has it now he may never leave the south side of Chicago. So, and Rizzo may never leave New York, as if that would ever be a thing, which I know a lot of people would really hate. I think you can get to like anyone who's on your team, maybe, but maybe not. Carlos Santana is declined even more. This is definitely a better player than Carlos Santana. And I just want to remind you, 31 years old. Where's the birthday? So he'll turn 32 in May. So this is basically 32 years old, I guess. 32, you'd probably say, would be his age 32 season. It's a little bit, where's the other ages there? Do we have it? So Aguilar's older than that. He'll be 33. Mancini's only 1 year younger. And most of the other guys are older that were options. So, you're kind of getting into a nice, like, I really think that this is really the pocket that we kind of expected them to play in. I would have liked to have seen a 2-year deal, but maybe it's better. Maybe it's
Yeah.
better only 1 year. I don't know. Maybe because then you can just see what else is coming, or if somebody shows up as a possible option.
Yeah. I I think for me the only you keep saying right-handed bat aside or left-handed bat aside where I just really wanted a right-handed hitter.
Sure. And
I
and
mean,
and that comes along with, and I'm injecting this in here, but I would assume that comes along with the fact that you don't see a right-handed hitter coming for a corner outfield spot.
yeah. I mean, I could have used a right-handed hitter in both spots or that left-handed heavy. But
Yeah.
also, it kind of opens up the door for, maybe somebody else playing first base, getting time at first base who is right-handed, like a Diego Castillo.
Mm, if you want to go there. I'm out on that one. I know you've brought that up before and other people have as well. For me, I'm out on that one, but maybe it is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even saying I think he should get. I'm just saying like
Okay,
what I
I
mean?
got you. Yep.
Like, somebody on our roster who's right-handed that maybe we don't have a spot for exactly yet.
Yeah, that's speaking directly to the lineup. And
Hmm.
I'll take that and go one step to say I'm not sure we didn't in the lineup. I'm not sure we didn't just replace Ben Gamel. And so we've made the comparisons, one way, and we can make the comparisons that way too. So let's find out if this is really an upgrade. Outside of the options, let's look at what we've had. Is this an upgrade over Chavis and Yoshi, which Yoshi, that seems pretty obvious. But to look at
Hmm.
Chavis and see, is this an upgrade? And then also, if you're on YouTube, I do have the comparison here with the numbers. But I threw Ben Gamel in there too because I think it's pretty crazy how similar some of the numbers are. And you'll see some outliers that make this better, but some of the outliers. And this is just the last 2 seasons. So it's a little bit different from what I was looking at with the other free agents. This is just the last 2 seasons. And some of these numbers that stick out to you, that OPS plus again, when you included 2020 in Choi's numbers, it was a 113. If you just look at the last 2 years, it's a 114. So that, kind of shows you a little bit of, okay, well then there's some consistency involved there, but also, maybe dropped it just a little bit. 2.1 WAR, and the other 3 players are all in the negatives. So you see those numbers there are significant upgrades. Gamel being a 98 OPS plus, and Choi being 114. Chavis 80, Yoshi 67. Dude, I'm not even going to say Yoshi's numbers. If you really want to see the Yoshi comparison, get on YouTube because that to me is a little bit of it's a bigger difference. But any of those really stand out. I mean, you look at the strikeouts, 210 to 203 between Gamel and him, the 22 to 17 homers, 36 doubles for Choi, 38 for Gamel. I mean, they're close. And Gamel played in 40 more games.
Yeah.
30 more games. 40. How's that work? 40 more games. Math.
Yeah, it's just.
And really, when you look at like Chavis, yeah, man. I mean, the numbers, the 230 averages, the 340-ish on base between Gamel and Choi, 344 to 335, so they're close.
Mm-hmm.
WAR can comprise a little bit of defensive numbers in there. So I think that helps, but that's like a little bit different when you're talking Gamel because we're not talking about the same position.
Yeah, I think over the course of his, not just looking at the 2 years, but over the course of his career, I think Choi shows a little more pop in his bat. It hasn't quite translated over the past couple of years, Even though what is that, 5? He's got 5 more home runs over the past 2 years. So I mean, there's not much of a difference there either. But I think,
I think it's about even. I think it checks out to me.
yeah,
I think it checks out because I see 2018 he hit 10 home runs. In 21 and 22 both he hit 11 home runs. And 2020 is 3, but once again 42 games. And the numbers are more at bats this year and 11 home runs. So they were down this year a little bit if you think of it that way. Or, because he had 100 more at bats and he hit the same amount of home runs. 100 more plate appearances rather. And really in 2018 the 10 home runs happened in even less plate appearances. So maybe there's a little bit there. And then the big year for him was 2019, which we know was the juice ball and power numbers were up across the board. So the fact that he still only got to 19 home runs, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think it checks out. I think he sits somewhere in the 10 to 15 in home runs. That is the part that I was a little bit like, dang, dude, like you just got Ben Gamble. I'm like, I wanted 20 homers out of my first baseman. Or at least somebody who's not hitting 230. I'll take 230 if you hit more than 20 homers. Other than that, I'm not taking 230. I don't care what your on base is.
Right.
Hit 20 homers.
I
maybe
agree.
he will. Maybe he'll pull the ball enough to. I didn't look that deep into it. If he's a pull hitter, where his power comes from. If his power is center to left center, well, we got problems.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you look at these numbers and it's a very valid point.
But I think the problem is I was being slighted by right-handed hitters on guys like Trey Mancini because the numbers aren't much better.
Right.
And so maybe there's a little bit of this. I don't know. Does this elbow surgery, does that mean that maybe his elbow was bothering him?
Yeah, and that was one of the things. Like I saw the elbow surgery. When I heard about that, my first gut reaction was like, "Oh, great."
Mm-hmm.
And he's hurt to boot. But then I was like, "Well, maybe he was hurt."
Yeah.
And we're thinking, "Hey, he's going to have this surgery, clean all that up, and it's going to be, unlock some of his potential that was there." But dude's 31, 32 years old. Into the season.
Go ahead. What's that mean?
Potential's out the door. I mean, I don't want to hear potential anymore.
Okay. That's fair.
I want to hear what you're doing on the field.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times he hasn't had like any big, like 127. This is the thing about Tampa. 127 games in 2019. 42 in the 60-game season. A little bit different, but 2021, 83 games, 113 games last year. Like, this dude is being put into situations that help him succeed.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe last 2 years put in positions to help him not succeed. The point is...
Right, exactly.
The numbers...
you're supposed to be putting him in prime positions, and he's still batting 231.
Yeah.
I still know.
And not hitting the ball over the fence that much. 22 home runs should be a 1-year thing, not a 2-year thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not enough for me.
No.
It's not enough for me. I think
the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm frustrated about it, to be honest.
The only thing that's good, and I think this is huge, and I don't know, I haven't seen that much, but I got to tell you that the importance of a defensive first baseman is never greater than when O'Neal Cruz is at short. We have to have someone capable over there. Josh Bell would be a terrible signing right now because he's not going to pick the balls that O'Neal Cruz throws over there.
Right.
Like, you have to have somebody who's a plus first baseman because he's going to have to work to get a 6-3 put out sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Like, we just know that it happens.
Yeah. And I think G-Man Choi fits that mold.
Okay.
I think he's a plus first baseman as far as defense. I don't think he's like amazing, but I think he's plus. I think he's good.
All right. The last thing I have here is in that interview with MLB Network, Ben Sherrington talked about Miguel Andujar and the fact that he's a little bit older and a little bit more experienced than some of the Dominican players we have. Him being Dominican himself is a good thing because what's the word? I don't remember what the word is, but the fact that there are multiple on the team from the same place gives you a little bit of like familiarity, and it makes you feel, oh, I've got some of my people here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
With G-Man Choi, you bring in a guy from South Korea, and you have Ji-hwan Bae, who's from South Korea, and also Hoi Park, who's from South Korea, already on the team. And hey, remember Jung Ho Gung was from South Korea. And a picture surfaced this week on Twitter of the four of them. Choi with Bae and Park. And now, of course, this picture was taken, I think, when Gung was still with the Pirates. So it's been that long ago. Does this signing increase the chance that Hoi Park stays with the team? If that's something that, to be fair, I think it is something that you should be concerned about, or at least it's a positive to have more of your compatriots, I think is the word, or whatever it is. Does that increase the chances Hoi Park sticks around?
Maybe. I mean, I don't think we'll know for sure.
That'd be another.
He's either stays or gone.
Oh, we may never know, even if he does. But
yeah.
But if so, that would make it another strike against Hoi Park signing. We've got a couple more minutes. Let's go into our MLB awards. We've said all we needed to say about G-Man Choi. I am not, by the way, if I don't know if my arguments, you guys tell me what my arguments sound like, whether I like him or not, because I haven't really said. To me, it's a 1-year thing. I don't believe there's a bad 1-year deal. I don't believe we got rid of anybody that I'm really mad about. So for that whole thing, and when you look at the first base market, I don't really think there was any huge upgrades over him that we had a chance for. It looks like Abreu's staying in the South Side. Josh Bell's out of our range, and he wouldn't be a good signing for this team because of his defense. I'm telling you that right now, it would have been bad.
Mm-hmm.
O'Neal Cruz's errors go up by 10 with him at first base. Like, it's not good. So I don't know how I feel about it yet. I think that given the situation and looking at what we're looking at, I think maybe this is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just a par move, but it's definitely an upgrade over last year. Definitely an upgrade.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if first base is fixed, but it is surely upgraded. So I still don't know whether that means I'm way in on it.
Yeah.
But before we get off here, their MLB awards are going out this week. No, we don't have anybody going up for them, so that's why we're not spending any time on this. But there are a couple out there that you and I have a chance to be right from our early season predictions. So Rookie of the Year, the AL finalists are Steven Kwan, Julio Rodriguez, and Adley Rutschman. We knew about Rodriguez and Rutschman, yet neither one of us picked him. I picked Bobby Witt. You picked Spencer Torkelson. So we're not going to hit on that one. The National League is between Brendan Donovan in St. Louis and then two Braves, Michael Harris and Spencer Strider. I don't believe we knew any of these guys were coming. They were not on the projected finalist. I picked Keibert Ruiz. You picked O'Neal Cruz. And neither one of them are finalists. The fact that we didn't get any of these right, of the three, who do you got on both sides? And I'll go first on this one, since I know that you say I always make you go first. I think Julio Rodriguez gets it, and I think Spencer Strider gets it, although I wouldn't be surprised if it goes another way.
Just to be slightly different, I'm going to say Adley Rutschman and Spencer Strider.
So we're both on Spencer Strider, which means surely Michael Harris, you're already given the Rookie of the Year award because we have to be wrong.
Yeah. And I don't think you're wrong with Julio Rodriguez. I'll throw that out there.
Okay. So Manager of the Year, Tito Francona, Brandon Hyde, Scott Service. That's Cleveland, Baltimore, Seattle. We didn't even do predictions for manager of the year because I don't care enough. And at National League, Dave Roberts, Buck Showalter, Brian Snitker. Here's the thing, guys. What you see in the American League is a cool thing. What you see in the National League is, duh. These are the three best teams.
Yeah.
Basically. You go first on this one.
I'm going to go with Scott Service and Snitker.
Did Service win it last year?
I think Service and Snitker won it last year. Now that you say that.
And you just went with those two?
I did without thinking about it.
That's fine. I mean, Atlanta definitely has a good shot of Snitker has a good shot of winning this again.
What was it, a 15 game?
It was whatever it was. I'll go Snitker too. I think he's back to back on this one, although it's not going to be Showalter unless they just really like him. It could be Dave Roberts too because of how many wins they actually got.
11 wins is insane.
Yeah, it's insane. I'll go Snitker, but I'm going to go Tito Francona just because I think that what they were able to do with the team as young as they were, but really, American League could go any of those ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's less likely Service wins it this time just because, well, I don't know, because they got there. They finished it. They got to the postseason. And that's a huge drought. So I could see that happening. Brandon Hyde with Baltimore, I mean, turning that team around and getting them at least competitive. I just think he's overmatched by the other two. So my Google speaker was about ready to tell me the dryer was finished, so I muted my mic real quick. I should have let it go just for everyone and see if it picked up. But Terry Francona in Cleveland, I thought, I think that he might get some love there. I mean, he went through some health stuff this year too, and so I think there might be a little bit of love for that. Cy Young Award, AL Dylan Cease with the White Sox, Alex Manoah for Toronto, and Justin Verlander for Houston. In the National League, Sandy Alcantara, Max Fried in Atlanta. Did I say Miami? And then Julio Urias in LA. So you can only pick American League here because you picked Urias at the beginning of the year. So you have to stay on that.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with it still.
Okay, so who's your American League guy?
I think it stays in Toronto for a second straight year, and Alek Manoah pulls it off. Although Verlander, man, he had a great year. Yeah,
so I went with Buehler and Giolito, which is the Dodgers and the White Sox. So in order to try to stay somewhat, I'll go Dylan Cease because I had the wrong pitcher, and I'll go Julio Urias because I had the wrong pitcher. Although I think both of those, I think those are really good races. MVP, I think this is the biggest thing. Yordan Alvarez in Houston, Aaron Judge for the Yankees, Shohei in LA. This is a race between Judge and Shohei. Sorry, Yordan, you're not in this running. In the National League, it's Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, and Manny Machado, which is crazy. I just think that the big names in the American League are involved. Yordan aside, I thought like Ohtani, Judge, and I would have expected to see Vlad or Trout or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the National League, I mean, those guys are all great players. But like, you don't have a Bryce Harper showing up, a Freddie Freeman, a Mookie Betts, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
the big Juan Soto, you know what I mean? You don't have any of those guys involved. And I think that's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes it a little bit harder of a pick too.
You only get to pick the National League.
I only get to pick the National League because I already went Ohtani.
Yeah.
Which in my heart sucks. Because I only picked Ohtani because I said that the Angels were going to compete. So I had Olsen in the National League. I'm going to go Nolan Arenado because apparently it doesn't matter if he has the best year. Because he won the Gold Glove and he's not the best third baseman in his division. And he won the Platinum Glove as the best defender in the National League, and he's not even the best third baseman in his division. So apparently, they love him. He doesn't have to have the best year to win. So Arenado, you get the MVP. You picked Vlad and Soto, which are actually two of those guys that I expected to say. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have a clean slate to pick what you want.
Yeah, and I'm going to pick Nolan Arenado for the almost the exact same reasons you are. And I'm also going to use those reasons, similar reasons, in the American League. And I'm going to go with Aaron Judge because for some reason, 62 is more impressive than any of the numbers hit prior to. I mean, are we just throwing all the numbers out? I mean, I get it. He's clean, all that stuff. But I'm sorry. You hit 62 home runs, which is the American League record, but they treated it as he's the new home run king.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. I am going to say this though. Oh, you goofball. Nobody cares about that anymore. The next best in 2022 was Mike Trout with 40 home runs. I don't care if 62 is better than 66 or 68 or 70 or 73. I don't care if it's better than those. I see what you're saying. But when you're picking an MVP for 2022, he hit 22 home runs more than the next guy.
I get it. And that's... No, you said 44, right?
No, 40 home runs to 62 home runs.
Oh, I thought you said 44.
He hit 22 more home runs than the next guy.
It's amazing. And I'm picking him because of that.
Yeah, okay. You can say that. Here's what I'll say. I should be picking Judge. This award should go to Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
Hands down should go to Aaron Judge. I hear it. Shohei Ohtani, but he did this and he did this, and I get it. I hear you. It's impressive. But I say this all the time. If you're worth 50% of your team's wins, that's a huge percentage of your team's wins. If you're worth 50% of your team's wins and you're Shohei and Aaron Judge is worth 40% of his team's wins, his team won a lot more games, which means his 40% is worth a lot more. If you're 50% worth $1 versus 40% worth $5, the guy who's 40% worth the $5 is still more valuable. If you want me to think otherwise, then stop calling it the MVP and start calling it the most outstanding player. Is Shohei Ohtani the most outstanding player? Still up for debate. Because Aaron Judge hitting 22 home runs more than the next guy is still really outstanding.
It's still really outstanding.
But when you throw the word value in there, I'm sorry. The New York Yankees struggled for most of the second half, and that dude put the whole team on their back and said, no, we're going to make the postseason if I have anything to say about it. So Aaron Judge, by far, when you use the word value, in my eyes, when you talk about how much the team was worth versus the Angels, it's not even close. It's still close. Because of what Ohtani does, it's still close.
Yeah, yeah.
But Aaron Judge is the MVP because you still call it the MVP. But I have to stick to my guns here because I picked Ohtani at the beginning of the year, even though that was conditional based on the fact that the Angels were going to be good. It better be Aaron Judge. I better be wrong.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you had to say. I was just venting a little bit because of this whole...
I know. We've had our vents.
Yeah.
I get it.
I don't like having that against Aaron Judge, to be honest with you, because I like Aaron Judge. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a great player.
I think he had an MVP season. I don't think that if they say Aaron Judge and then talk about the American League home run record, I think that's kind of tired. I mean, the American League home run record, the National League home run record should be more impressive until now because you had to do it without the fact that you could just play DH every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But also all the other things involved. I get it. I get your talk. I get your thing. I get it. It's the Yankees and I get it. The whole deal. That's fine. It's still not the major league record, unfortunately, because of all the things. And it is still it. I think that it's even more impressive, though, because of the fact that there's such a huge gap between him and the next guy. Actually, I did that in American League. I think that Schwarber had 46. So a little bit of a discrepancy there, but we're talking about the American League MVP, and Mike Trout was next in line with 40. Dude, that's a third more.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so the fact that gap exists, he almost doubled Ohtani's home run totals. Just outrageous. And Ohtani at 273 and he at 311. So, let's keep going with that. You know what I mean?
How many strikeouts did Aaron Judge have?
175.
Striking other players out.
Yeah. Well, okay. But still, Ohtani struck out 161 times. Ohtani still had more at bats, though, than I used to say, yeah, but Ohtani did that when he's not on offense a lot. No, he's on offense. He's playing offense. I understand the pitching side of it, but it's not like he had a limited at bats, which is what I thought was the case. It's not the case. He had all the at bats. He played. No, it's Judge. I get it, but it's hard to rank a unicorn.
Yeah,
it just is. You know what I mean? The fact of the matter is, I'm not saying this because I think Judge was better than Ohtani. I'm saying this because the Yankees were so much better than the Angels. If the Angels were a playoff team, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be talking about this. It'd be Ohtani and it'd be no question. That's all I'm saying. And Trout would have been in the running for MVP if they would have been good.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Alvarez had a great year. Hit over 300. And it doesn't happen anymore. Like we said, right. 11 guys hit over 300. You can add 30 home runs to it. And Alvarez had 37 on a team that won the most games in the American League.
Yeah.
And he deserves to be in the conversation. It's just the fact that the other two guys and what they've done. But it should be Aaron Judge. I'd love to hear all of you guys that disagree with me or Jake and all of our things. Did we both just pick? Because you're an Ohtani guy.
I like it. I love Ohtani. I think I love what he's able to do. And I think.
But you said last year, if he continues to do this, how can we pick anybody other than Ohtani for MVP?
By hitting 20 more home runs than the next guy.
There you go.
And
being on a winning team versus being on a lousy team.
Yeah.
You can't win MVP on a lousy team unless you're the guy who hit 20 more home runs than the next guy.
It's a value thing. It's not most outstanding. I don't know.
I still believe
impressive. That. Ohtani's impressive and impressive beyond just the MVP. He's ridiculous. He's in a league of his own.
Give him most outstanding player.
2022 MVP should go to Aaron Judge.
All right. And Nolan Arenado, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently.
Because we just give him all the things.
First off, I just don't think there's a lot. There's not a ton in the race for NL.
Yeah.
Machado did put the team on his back when all the Tatis stuff went down and whatnot, but I still think Arenado's got it.
Yeah. Paul Goldschmidt, he put up some great numbers too. The average is better. The home runs are better for Goldschmidt. He also plays gold glove caliber defense. So I think probably if you look at it, maybe it goes to Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
He had a moment in time where you thought, geez, maybe the Triple Crown. It probably should go to Goldschmidt. I think it'll go to Arenado for the same reasons that Arenado got the Gold Glove and the Platinum Glove.
Mm-hmm. It's just his year, I guess.
Yeah, it's just his year. So, all right, that's all I got. What do we have? What do we have coming up here before we close this out? I know that those awards come out Rookie of the Year on Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday, right? They do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think that's the way
I
it
think so.
goes. 14th through the 17th. So no, they are going to do Monday through Thursday for those awards. So it'll be Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, Cy Young, MVP on Thursday. And you know what? Coming up this week is their Rule 5 protections have to be made by the 15th. We've kind of said some of those things last week, so we didn't get into them this week. We'll wait and see. We'll talk about them next week once they make their decisions. But that is going to happen this week, so we're going to see Andy Rodriguez and Mike Burrows at least added to the 40-man. So we're going to have some more moves made this week, maybe 2 other players, but we'll see where that goes. We know at least those 2 guys, and then the rest of them. It's going to be fun to talk about their decisions that they make and whether or not we think that things are going to happen. But we didn't get into that this week because of the G-Man Choi thing. We thought that was what we wanted to focus on this week and talking about that. So, we'll save that for next week. Other than that, I mean, that's the big thing this week, right?
Yeah.
Those awards, Rule 5 protections, and we'll see maybe we'll open up some conversations about who other teams didn't protect. If we have anything like that, maybe there's a guy we could pick up on the Rule 5 draft that we might be interested in seeing. It's got to be at least as good as a waiver claim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, other than that, that's all I have for this week. You got anything else?
What was it? Surprise Cigarros. They won the Arizona Fall League, and Nick Gonzalez had an opposite field homer, 3 for 5 day in the championship game. So
Arizona Fall League.
Yeah. Just wanted to throw that out.
Good job, Nicky. Maybe he'll be around. All right, let's go Bucs.
Yep, let's go Bucs.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucs.